Good morning and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news or news in general in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's in the house, and then we'll get into this. Mr. All Set, good to see you, buddy. We got Carl Coat in the house, Triple Nickel Technologies, Leo Lustig, my man, good to see you. Andrew Masad, Douglas, what's up, man? Good to see you. Montoof, I don't know if that's how you say that name. I might have butchered that. I apologize. Let's see. Adam, good to see you. Deborah, good morning. Nate G, we have Steve Mint in the house. Black Hat Team, good to see you, buddy. Everybody else I may have missed, I apologize. Let's get into it. All right, we got Bitcoin 61,111 or 106 bucks now. Everything is in the red or pinkish deep red. It's brutal right now. We're having a nice pullback. Honestly, it's time to buy. My opinion. You guys do what you want. Don't listen to people on YouTube. Ethereum 2451. We have BNB at 546 bucks. Solana is at $145. ADA is at 35 cents. Caspa pulling back to 14.5 cents, dude. Crazy. I bought some yesterday. I'm going to buy some more today. Litecoin $63.50. We got XRP at 58 cents. Let's see, Sui is down as well to $1.85 today. Near Protocol is down to $4.78. We got Dogecoin 10.5 cents. Crazy. Everything, man, everything's pulling down. Pepe's in the deep red today, huh? 15.36% down on the day. Damn. All right, let's see. Good morning, Mr. Leo Lustig. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, crypto bubbles. Let's see. Holy hell, look at look at this. Everything is like close to 10% down. That's crazy. I wonder if this has to do with just everything that's going on, like the whole hurricane stuff, the port being, you know, protested, all this stuff. Rectober, yeah, dude, it's insane. The first day of October into the second day just got completely decimated. Insane. Nothing jumps out at me besides this wormhole one right here. It's ranked 72nd, up 16 ranks, actually up 21.7% to 37 cents. I don't know if anybody has this. I don't know what it's about, to be honest. Never looked into it, but that's the only one that's green. Almost literally. This one's green too. OM, but that's only up 1.8%. Mantra, $1.27. Crazy. Yeah, 20%. That's weird. I wonder why. That's like the only one that's really jumping up. Strange. Anyways, all right. Flashbang. Fear and Greed Index at a 42. Honestly, it's perfect. That's what we need. We need something to I'm glad the needle's going back the opposite way, because I want to have a nice steady climb, hopefully up into the presidential election. We're gonna have to see what happens, but I don't know. Beginning of October doesn't look too good right now. So we're gonna have to see. All right, moving on over here on CoinGecko, we have the top 10 coins by coin market cap. Again on CoinGecko: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, XRP, Lotto Staked Ether, Dogecoin, and Toncoin in 10th place at a $13.6 billion market cap. Looks like Tron is actually just behind that in 11th place at a 13.2, and Cardano dropped down to a $12.4 billion market cap in 12th place. Let's see. Near Protocols in 23rd. Just gonna check over a couple coins. Litecoin 26th place as of right now. Oh god, why did that change on me? Sorry, blinded you guys. Let's see. Litecoin is still 84% down. Easy way to make money, my opinion. Investing in coins that are 80% down that have legs to stand on. Let's put it that way. So Litecoin's one of those ones I'm holding in purchasing as the days go on. Caspa 33rd place here, 14.5 cents, just about at a 3.6. Wow. So we lost about 400 million. Crazy. It was at 4 billion and then a 4.2 billion at some point, but man, it's at a 3.6 now. It's pretty low. I wonder why we're getting such a big pullback on Caspa. Typically when things pull back everywhere else, Caspa is usually going up a little bit, right? Or staying steady. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see what happens there. I wonder if we are gonna get an exchange listing or whatnot, but I guess we'll have to see. Ethereum Classic, $18.32. I really wish we'd have some ETC news to like help the miners with all the machines that we have that can mine ETC. You know, being a miner, it's one of those things. Just look at them in the trailer in my case, and yeah, they're just not on. It's unfortunate. All right, moving on to ASICs over here. You guys know I like to timestamp these, see what we got every day. That way we can come back and kind of reference it We have the Bitmain Antminer AL1 Pro 16.6 terahash unit over here, making 54.37 a day. We got the AL1 15.6 terahash unit making $51.08 a day. The AL3 15 terahash unit making $48.81 a day. Again, this is after 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Once you pay your electric bill, this is the profit you make, right? You can change this if you guys don't know anything about the site for some reason. Change this and it changes the prices that you make from the miners, as you can see. All right, the L9 17 gigahash unit over here mining Dogecoin and Litecoin. I think you can mine bells as well. I think you can triple mine if bells is still a thing. Is it still a thing? Let me know in the chat. Is anybody mining that still? 16.21 a day. The L9 16 gigahash unit is making 15.26 a day. Looks like this Hydro Bitcoin miner is making 15.26 a day as well. Crazy. This thing still blows my mind just to look at it. 860 terahashes at 11,000 watts. It's freaking crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, just kind of scrolling down a little bit. Let's see the AL2 Lite. We have 2 terahash unit over here. This is the new Ice River unit that's being dropped. $6.43 a day. The KS5M 15 terahash unit over here making $6.94 a day. Let's see the L7. You guys know I got this 9050 down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them if you guys are interested in hosting. Links in the description. This is again 3-year-old unit. It's been profitable the entire bear market. These L7s, just the Litecoin miners / Dogecoin miners, they've done nothing but I guess make money. That's pretty much how it's been across the board. So if anybody has an L7, shout out to you guys, or even purchasing the L9. Actually, has anybody purchased the L9? Let me know in the chat. I'm interested to know if anybody here has one or has one coming. I don't know. They're just right now, I just rather buy the coin, but they're gonna, if we get a crazy bull run and the price of these coins appreciate drastically, these machines will sell for a shit ton. I saw Voss got one. Oh really? Nice. I didn't see his video. The AO Box 3 over here, 1.25 terahash unit, 600 watts, making $3.33 a day. Again, gold shell, like, I don't know. Listen, I like them, but the how fast they put out units, it really is like, I don't know. It's almost like slapping somebody in the face. You know what I mean? Like, say somebody just goes and buys this AO Box 2 Plus 1 terahash unit, right? They drop this like a week later and it's like, okay, now it's 0.25 terahashes better, and yeah, making more money on it, and it's probably the same price as this was. I don't know. You guys can go check out the Gold Shield website, but yeah, that's just, I don't know. They're putting them out too fast, and it's kind of discouraging, to be honest. The AL Box 2 over here, the original AL2, 720 gigahashes at $1.88 a day. Not too bad. Could be worse. Ice River AL0 400 gigahash unit at 100 watts, making $1.29 a day. And the RX0, I guess these things have started to ship out. Has anybody got theirs yet? The RX0, we got 260 gigahashes at 100 watts, making $1.15 a day. Could be worse, but that's not that good. Just buy the crypto, people. Stop spending money and chasing profits. It's not worth it right now. Just my opinion. Leo Lustig said he got his yesterday. Hell yeah. Hadouken to you, sir. Hadouken to you. That's awesome. The KS0 Ultra, man, 400 gigahashes at 100 watts. This thing's only making 16 cents a day. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. All right, moving on. GPUs. Let's see. Got a bunch of things I want to watch today. All right, let me refresh this just to make sure. Looks like this Aleo is top of the charts still across the board, except for the 170HX is best on Block X. Looks like 3080 Ti and the 3080 12 gigabyte, also Block X and Pyron dual mining. Aleo's in there a little bit. Ironfish, weird. Floor on the 90HX, interesting, and Block X and Pyron. 6800 XT is Clore straight across the board. Let's check Clore. We looked yesterday, but let's see. Is it over 10 cents today? Probably not. Definitely not. It's 9 cents, so it's like literally right at 10 cents. It's down 7% apparently. How's the lithium doing actually? Is it holding up through this mayhem? No. So we lost about 12 cents, 13 cents from yesterday. It was 161. So it's $1.48 today. Makes sense. Everything goes down. Oh man, flashbang. Lithium's hash rate, network hash rate over here is at a 16.73 petahashes. Could be worse. Could definitely be worse, but it's gonna get worse. It is absolutely gonna get worse. That's terrible. All right, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Those are like literally the 3 coins you gotta pick from. Let's check real quick CPUs. How's CPU mining doing? Varus coin, I've heard, it's had a crazy pump. And you know what sucks? I can't get into my old wallet. Well, I can get into it, but for some reason I had an issue sending the money out, and then I just gave up. So I gotta try to log back into that today and see if I can figure it out. I don't know what's going on with it. I just hate all these core desktop wallets. Like, why can't this shit just get on Tangem? Please, somebody just get this on Tangem. It'd be very, very nice. Let's see. Steven Cicero say, is it now the time to buy ASICs and then sell during the bull run when they go up in price? Yeah, Steven Cicero, but at the same time, that's like I don't know, unless you have a lot of money to throw into the toilet in hopes that it floats, then I don't think it's a good idea. No, you're gonna make more money on the coin, because then you're gonna have to pay tariffs and all this bullshit on buying the unit, taxes, blah blah blah. Then you're gonna have to try to sell it, and you have to pay taxes on selling that unit. There's just like, just buy the coin and sell the coin, and then you should pay taxes once. Like, it just, I don't know, it doesn't make much sense to me to fight to try to resell something that's probably gonna be a pain in the ass to resell. You know what I mean? I don't know, doesn't really make too much sense. All right, we're gonna move on to the news segment of things. I don't know if you guys saw this stuff last night with the VP debate, vice president debate over here. JD Vance was called out. He called out one of the moderators for lying to the audience, and CBS immediately muted him. Did you guys? I don't know if any of you guys watched this, but I watched it, and it was actually a really good debate. They were both super respectful to each other, and yeah, there was nothing really bad about it. But yeah, JD definitely he started laying into one of the I guess false comments that the lady meant, and yeah, it's pretty brutal. So let's listen to this real quick, and then we're gonna move on to a bunch of other news stuff.
And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important
we're
because
going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen,
he says it's something that Kamala Harris created.
Your mics are cut. And just
the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. Like, they just, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy how they just allow whatever they want to be said out there, and then they just hate it. I don't know, whatever it is, what it is. It's just this whole election stuff is like, it's cutthroat, the whole thing. I don't know if you guys saw this either. Biden and Harris facing backlash for not visiting, devastation following the hurricane. And shout out to all these families. It's super sad. I didn't realize it was like this devastating. It's really, really crazy what's going on down there. But let's see what this has to say over here. I'm gonna bump this up as well.
Former President Trump visiting the state of Georgia, battered by Helene, helping to move emergency supplies as President Biden plans to tour the devastation in North Carolina. So where is Vice President Kamala Harris?
On Helene, people in Western North Carolina were drowning in their houses this weekend. Others were losing everything. President Biden was at his beach house, and Vice President Harris was hosting political fundraisers on the West Coast.
The president did exactly what a president in this moment needs to do, which is directing his team to take action. Look, and I talked about how the vice president also did her calls. She's going to be going to the FEMA agency and the center to get her briefing.
Former Governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, was praised for his response during Hurricane Katrina, and he joins us now. Governor, good morning to you. It is just staggering what has happened to millions of people in the Southeast as a result of the storm. And of course, you've had experience dealing with natural disasters during your time as governor. So what do you think of the response from the candidates and the president?
Look at this, man. I didn't realize it was this bad. Like, this fucking insane. Look at these cars are stacked on each other. They're fucking flipping like flooding houses. Like, there's so much shit. That's insane.
So far.
Well, I really think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have missed an opportunity. It's not a political one. It's a leadership opportunity. The reason they need to be there is not because they can fix it. Their presence doesn't make the water go away. Jesus. It doesn't put people back in their homes. It doesn't save a life. Here's what it does. It calls attention to the severity of the storm. It causes people across the country to realize how bad this is. It's apocalyptic. There's no other way to describe it. And what hit Western Carolina is something that is just unprecedented in terms of the scope of it, because it's destructive to its infrastructure.
Dude, look at that house floating away. That's crazy.
Their presence brings attention, which also means people across the world start donating, they start helping, they start realizing that this is a serious, more serious than ever situation. They miss that opportunity, and that's a shame. The second thing they do is they call attention to the fact that this is people first, paperwork second. They need to make that the policy of the government to put aside filling out forms and paperwork and saying our first and only responsibility right now is to take care of the people who are displaced, the people who are in danger. They blew it on both of them.
But there seems to...
Dude, look at this container ship. Look, wait, that's another one that's flattened under it. Holy shit. Dude, this is crazy.
To be a pattern here, Governor, from East Palestine to Maui,
wow,
now to North Carolina. Why does this Biden-Harris administration seem so slow to react, and many people would argue seem disengaged when reacting to tragedies? It doesn't add up. Why do you think?
I don't understand it. I really don't, because historically, one of the, frankly, best people ever in the office of president to deal with crisis was Bill Clinton. He was...
Dude, this is like the perfect story of the friggin' Three Little Pigs. The brick house survived. Look at this. That's crazy. It ripped up the pavement, and this building's still standing. That's insane.
Absolutely the master of it, and I give him full credit for being a person who always gave the empathy and came in person to when there was a natural disaster, and he showed up, and his presence and his empathy for people was frankly probably the best in my lifetime. I don't ever remember Democrat or Republican president being better at it than he was. He's frankly, I think, the template and role model for how it ought to be done.
Yeah, and Barack Obama came up here during Sandy. To your point, it's not Democrat, Republican, it's human. And it doesn't make sense why this Biden-Harris administration doesn't act human at times. I want to get your thoughts on this before we let you go. James Comer subpoenaing the DHS for records relating to Governor Tim Walz's alleged ties to the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. In the subpoena, Comer writes, quote, the committee has recently received whistleblower disclosures informing the committee of serious concern among Department of Homeland Security personnel regarding a long-standing connection between the CCP and Minnesota Governor Timothy James Walz. The committee has learned of a non-classified Microsoft Teams group chat among DHS employees that contains information about Governor Walz that is relevant to the committee's investigation. Putting your views on his politics aside here for a moment, how can Tim Walz be a heartbeat away from the presidency if these whistleblower disclosures turn out to be true? About 45 seconds to you.
Yeah, Todd, what makes this important is that it's coming from a whistleblower from within the agency. This is not a political hack somewhere from the RNC who's making this accusation. So they have to take it seriously. James Comer has no option but to investigate it. You know, let's not forget that Donald Trump was impeached because somebody said, gee, I think there was a phone call that was inappropriate, which turned out it wasn't inappropriate. The impeachment was a sham. So if we're going to play by the rules of, okay, somebody made an accusation, nobody's saying, let's impeach Tim Walz, but by golly, we need to find out what the heck happened and does he have a relationship with the Chinese?
Yeah, of all the countries one could have a relationship with, you're allowed to have, normal relations, but to the extent that it goes this deep, we need to find out. Governor Mike Huckabee, appreciate you as always.
What? That's insane. This whole world's going to shit. All right, U.S. port workers go on strike. Here's what to know. This is about 23 hours ago. This is after we were live yesterday, but I want to see what they got to say over here on CNBC television. Let's do it.
Dock workers are now on strike at ports from the East Coast to the Gulf of Mexico. Frank Holland joins us right now. He's got the latest on this. He is right there on the picket lines. And Frank, what's happening?
Hey, good morning, Becky. As many as 50,000 longshoremen went on strike at just after midnight this morning, shutting down East and Gulf Coast ports, disrupting the U.S. supply chain, and according to many industries, increasing prices and reducing availability of products going into the key holiday season.
As 50,000 people. That's insanity.
You mentioned behind me, we see some ILA members here gathering right now. Many of them have been here since just after midnight. Earlier this morning, the union actually released some video of the ILA president making a very fiery speech to members about the contentious negotiations with porter operators who are known as the USMX.
We're going to keep this thing going every day, in and out. We're going to be on the news. We're going to win this thing. Trust me. They can't survive too long, and we're going to get what the we deserve. Believe me. And God bless all of you for being here. Thank you.
And the union is asking for higher pay and restrictions on automation at the port. Those are two of the key issues when it comes to this negotiation. USMX issuing a statement before the deadline yesterday saying the two sides traded counteroffers over pay. They also added our offer would increase wages by nearly 50%, also increase employer contributions when it comes to health care. They also added that it would also keep the same language when it came to port automation and also semi-automation. This strike will cost the U.S. economy as much as $4 billion a day when it comes to estimates from Jefferies and a number of other analysts and big banks out there. According to Jefferies, though, a one-day strike here at the port, that would create congestion for about a week. They say a two-week strike, that would create congestion going all the way into early 2025. The Biden administration says they've been in contact with both the union and the port operators. They actually issued a new statement this morning. They said in part, President Biden and Vice President Harris are closely monitoring the strike at the East Coast and Gulf Coast ports. The president has directed his team to convey his message directly to both sides that they need to be at the table and negotiating in good faith, fairly and quickly. However, the Biden administration has maintained they would not use the Taft-Hartley Act to keep the ports open and also force both sides to keep negotiating. I've spoken to leaders from a number of trade groups across a number of industries, spirits, agriculture, auto parts, apparel, all of them saying this would be a big disruption to the holiday shopping season. They say it would have an impact with both businesses and also to consumers.
That's a good point. Geek of All Trades said this is just going to push the organizations to move to automation sooner. So they have the whole thing. This is about obviously money, right? And the automation, people losing jobs. So they have these cranes that will pick up the containers and move them to the trucks or like off the ships or on the ships all automatically, right? And they don't want that to happen. Unfortunately, that's the way the world's going. And it sucks because a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, but yeah, I agree. It's going to push people to, or push these ports to just get the automation faster because robots aren't going to strike. That's just how it is.
So we're talking about $200 million a product a day that's going to get stopped at the ports. And that's, if that stays for a long period of time, it's going to be weeks before those goods can be cleared. In addition to shortages, you could see costs start to go up. That's tough medicine at a time when we're trying to reduce prices.
Right.
And that was the president of the American Apparel and Footwear Association talking about the impact to his specific industry. I want to talk about some of the shipping stocks here. The disruptions are already given a boost to container shipping, logistics, and air freight stocks. That includes names like Zim, Hapag-Lloyd, FedEx, C.H. Robinson, and Expeditors. Becky, back to you.
Hey, Frank, this is really interesting, trying to figure out what exactly they want. The list of things that they've already been offered in this latest offer sounds pretty rich. A 50% pay increase, restrictions on automation to come through. Those are the two big sticking points you mentioned. What more do they want? Because they also said that they're going to be tripling the employer contributions into their retirement funds, strengthening their health care options. Have they said specifically? I mean, I've heard a 70% raise that they want, but is there anything more specific they've given?
Becky, I've heard that same number as well. It has not been officially confirmed by the union. I've reached out to them to try to confirm that. It sounds like pay really is the issue here. Even in the Biden administration statement, they really emphasized that they wanted the USMX to negotiate, keeping in mind some of the profits that they've made over recent years. The ILA president has frequently said that the container shipping companies, they made big profits during the pandemic, and he feels like that financial gain hasn't quite been passed on to union members, not even in the negotiations so far. Again, USMX saying that they offered wage increases of nearly 50%. Again, that seems to be one of the key sticking issues. I believe the ILA president is back here behind us. We're going to try to talk to him and get down to the bottom of that issue.
All right, so Mr. Crypto KJ just gave me a Twitter post about this guy getting an interview, the guy that's like running the strikes. Let's see what he's got to say because I haven't seen this yet. So let's do it.
These people today don't know what a strike is. Right. When my men hit the streets from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the companies money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
That's fucked up. All over a couple bucks, right? I mean, obviously it's not a couple bucks, but just in general, that's fucking crazy. That is crazy. All right, how the port strike could impact the U.S. economy. This is 12 hours ago over on CNBC television. This is like insane. You know what? I'll never forget during like the whole COVID pandemic thing, the 2x4s went up to like $10 a piece. I wonder if that shit's gonna happen again. It absolutely could.
With no indication of how long it will last, the port strike called Tuesday poses a very real threat to inflation and the ongoing U.S. economic expansion. Now, nearly 50,000 longshoremen have walked off their jobs, demanding higher wages and protection from automation. Unless the impasse is solved quickly, U.S. consumers could begin to feel the impact. Price increases for things like fresh fruit, artificial Christmas trees, agricultural products, and autos are just
artificial Christmas trees. That has to be
some of the things that could be hit, and the impacts could be felt soon. The East Coast and Gulf ports account for nearly half of all U.S. imports and are thus central to the nearly $30 trillion U.S. economy. The Federal Reserve is looking to lower interest rates, a policy path that could get derailed should inflation, however temporary, start to perk up again. Now, on the bright side, the West Coast ports can handle some of the redirected traffic. Also, companies have long known that a strike was a real possibility, so they've been bracing by stockpiling inventory and taking other precautionary measures. And finally, there's a feeling that if the stoppage gets prolonged, President Joe Biden can step in and use his authority to make the two sides take a cooling off period that would restore port activity. But if the strike's not resolved soon, the prospects for the U.S. economy and consumers still battling against spiraling inflation get dimmer by the day.
So that's what the guy was talking about, the 90-day thing. But like, if they're going to go into work and they're only going to work half as fast, if that, like a third as fast, it's going to be, yeah, that's going to be awful. All right, the Feds will look at inflation from geopolitics and port strike as temporary. Let's see what they got to say again over here at CBC television about 12 hours ago.
But first, let's bring in our market panel, Bespoke Investment Group co-founder Paul Hickey and Jefferies chief market strategist and CNBC contributor David Zervos. Guys, welcome. Happy Monday. So, David, another start to another month and another market freakout. Is this par for the course in the last 40 days before an election?
I think so, John. I think we should expect a fair amount of volatility going into November 5th. And I think, geopolitics are always going to be on our radar. Everything's elevated, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, whether it's what's going on in the Middle East. Certainly, China's caught everybody's eye. That's not a geopolitical story, but certainly an economic story. So we have to be on watch. And, John, for me, this is why we advocate risk parity trades. It helps us sleep better at night. We have our leveraged fixed income portfolio that we feel very good about, which averages a sort of 3 to 3.5% yield. And we hold that against our risk assets. And it's been a great trade all year. It's protected us last August. Most of these drawdowns are being well protected by that leveraged fixed income portfolio that risk parity always has. And I feel pretty good about it today. I feel as good as I felt in a long time.
Well, okay, we got a sense of your defense, David. So, Paul, this is an expensive market that seems to expect a soft landing, but there seem to be more potential jump scares, perhaps, in October, not counting Halloween, than usual. We're looking at the Middle East and the election in general. How do you protect yourself while remaining positive?
So I think, the Middle East, we talked about it a lot today in the news, but I don't think that was really much of an impact on the markets here. We're down less than 1% today. The last two first days of the month, we were down even more, and there was no Mideast violence on those days. So I think in that respect, I wouldn't focus too much on that. Oil at this point was up about 3% today. It's down over the last week. As far as the broader market is concerned, I think investors, you just want to continue to play on this theme that we've been talking about for months now, and that's, broadening out of the market, the S&P 493, and not necessarily some of the the mega caps here, and more focus on individual stock stories and the sectors that are out of favor. You've grown into earnings season. Analysts have been lowering forecasts on stocks in the industrial sector and the materials sector. And typically when you have that low bar for estimates, the companies tend to do well during the earnings season. So overall, there's going to be some bumps in the road with the earnings season coming up, but I think overall there's still plenty to be positive about in this market.
Okay. David, I do want to go back to geopolitics. And yes, we've got this port strike. And I realize both of these events, these news events as they've been playing out today, have been arguably pretty well telegraphed. Known risks here, at least in the near term. But when we talk about conflict, we're talking about a dynamic that can become very inflationary very quickly. When we're talking about something like a prolonged port strike, if that were to happen, you're talking about supply chain dynamics that could become inflationary very quickly. So at what point do those risks become real to the market?
You know, I think on the same vein, you can also say that they become suppressors of global aggregate demand, Morgan. And the Fed is going to look at that suppression of global aggregate demand in the same way that it looks as maybe a temporary spike in prices due to supply chain disruptions. And I think the way they're set up going into the end of this year is they're probably going to favor kind of making sure that the demand side doesn't crack, because the inflation side is probably more temporary than many would think, or many might surmise. So I'm more thinking that the Fed backstop on global aggregate demand comes in sooner if there is a geopolitical flare-up than the Fed somehow saying, oh, there's a geopolitical flare-up, we're worried about inflation, we're actually going to stop these rate cuts or even think about rate hikes. That's not the story with global aggregate demand probably getting quite messy if geopolitics were to really become a much more significant issue. And I agree with Paul up front. I mean, this is a $2 day in oil. It's a 7 to 10 basis point day in fixed income. It's less than 1% in the equity markets. It's a little bit risk-offy and it's a little geopolitically, but it's not it's not unknown. We've all been waiting for this. We've all seen the measured responses. We've all seen the tit for tat. And it's sort of, I think, in the playbook for a lot of people.
Interesting. All right, moving on. Let's see. Got this. It's NVIDIA's game to lose. Let's see what he's got to say. They're saying this is a semiconductor competition. Let's do it.
Let's bring in now to talk about the chip space more broadly, top chip analyst Bernstein, Stacey Rasgon. Welcome back. It's nice to see you. So I know it's too soon.
I wonder how this whole chip thing's gonna affect like graphics cards and stuff. So I wonder if the price is gonna go nuts.
Soon for you to talk about this company specifically, but at least it raises the issue of companies that are out there that want a piece of this AI pie. How should we be thinking about these newcomers relative to the heavyweights like NVIDIA?
Yeah. So there's a number of areas of competition for NVIDIA, which makes sense. It's an enormous potential opportunity, and all the dollars right now are flowing to NVIDIA. And you've got other merchant suppliers like AMD or even Intel. You have hyperscalers doing their own products, and then you have startups as well, right? And I think for a lot of the startups, it's difficult. They don't have scale. They don't have ecosystem, and if their pitch is, we have a chip that's better than NVIDIA, I think that's hard, because with every generation, NVIDIA has a chip that's better than NVIDIA, and they have the software and all the ecosystem support that goes with it. So I'm not going to comment on Cerebras, but they're doing some other things. I mean, clearly, they're gonna try their best at this point. But in general, so far it's been a winner take all. As I said this before, it seems like it's NVIDIA's game to lose, like more broadly.
Real quick, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 to be discontinued. Weird. I'm reading that also. Andrew Masad said this in the chat. It says, yes, NVIDIA is expected to discontinue product of the GeForce RTX 4090 graphics card in October 2024. The company is planning to make room for the launch of the RTX 5000 series, which includes the RTX 580 and RTX 590, 5090 or whatever, in late 2024 or early 2025. So I guess they are going to be stopping the 4090s.
Well, I mean, it's winner take most, right? I mean, it's not like Broadcom hasn't done well. No. The issue, though,
that's crazy.
The issue, though, is that, as it's done better, its multiple's gone up, hasn't it? So it's not as cheap as it was viewed to be before.
That's true. So to be honest, if you're talking about the real competition, I actually think it is more on that hyperscaler side. The cloud vendors doing their own chips, and this is an area clearly where Broadcom really shines. They're doing a lot of the ASIC work for the key players like Google and Meta and some others. It's a very big business for Broadcom. They said $12 billion in total AI revenues this year. I bet $8 billion of that 12 is probably custom AI accelerators and ASICs for those large guys. And look, I actually do think that is real, and it will get bigger. And I wouldn't be surprised if the penetration of ASICs relative to the broader TAM gets bigger and bigger over time. It's kind of apples and oranges in some sense. It's more, those stuff is more used for the internal workloads of the hyperscalers versus workloads where you need programmability or anything that's customer facing or enterprise. So they are kind of two different markets. But yeah, I mean, this is a market that's already sizable and it's getting bigger. But to be fair, I think that the overall opportunity, the TAM is big enough for both of them to benefit. I don't think it's a matter of one necessarily winning over the other. The market's sizable enough where I think both of them can win. And I like NVIDIA and I like Broadcom. We like both stocks.
All right, I'm going to kill it there. I'm going to let you guys leave the rest up for interpretation, but I don't think we're going to hear really too much more there. I want to get over to CNBC Crypto World. I don't have too much more time. So Robinhood announces crypto transfers for European customers. Let's see what they got to say over here on Crypto World, CNBC television. Let's do it.
Okay, let's talk about the top stories. Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz joined Squawk Box this morning to discuss how he believes Bitcoin will behave through the projected global macro environment.
Almost more importantly than what the U.S. is doing is what China just did, right? We've got now the two biggest economies in the world, cutting rates and pumping liquidity into the system. And at the same time, we're going to have an election. And either candidate wins, we're going to have a lot more regulatory clarity.
Now, Trump has positioned himself as a pro-crypto candidate. He's launched NFT projects and put his support behind the yet-to-be-launched DeFi platform, World Liberty Financial. He was also the headline speaker at Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville. But Novogratz reiterated his optimism for regulatory clarity on digital assets, regardless of who wins the election.
I spent a lot of time speaking to people around the Harris campaign. The one thing that comes clear is this is going to be a first-term presidency, not a second Biden term. And that means different personnel, different policies. They are going to shift away from the Elizabeth Warren faction, which really, I think most Democrats realized it was a fool's errand.
Next, investment platform Robinhood will let European customers transfer crypto in and out of its app. Robinhood said users in the EU will be able to transfer more than 20 different digital currencies through the platform, including Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, and USDC. Now, this will allow customers to self-custody tokens purchased on the platform. Robinhood has ramped up its international expansion since launching Robinhood Crypto in the EU last December. Now, Johan Kerbrat, the general manager of the company's crypto unit, told CNBC that the EU can become a very attractive market next year, pointing to the rollout of MiCA, which serves as a regulatory framework for digital assets in the region. Last, Ohio's Republican State Senator Niraj Antani introduced a bill to allow crypto as payment for state and local taxes and fees. Senator Antani introduced the bill yesterday and said that Ohio should do everything to normalize the use of cryptocurrencies, thereby encouraging innovation and free enterprise in the state. The bill seemingly excludes CBDCs as it lays out that the term cryptocurrency does not include a national currency. State Senator Antani says Ohio was the first state to accept crypto tax payments in 2018, but stopped the following year on advice that the State Board of Deposits should approve the measure first. This has yet to happen. All right, for our main story, the vice presidential debate is tonight in New York City. Ahead of that showdown between the VP nominees for both major parties, a crypto advocacy group just sent a letter to the Harris-Walz team, urging a meeting to discuss crypto policy. Cleve Mesidor, the founder of the National Policy Network of Women of Color in Blockchain, helped draft that letter, and she spoke with Crypto World's Jordan.
Nope. Not doing that. Sorry. Didn't know that was coming. All right, moving on to the videos of the day. I'm not getting into this. Vote for me because I'm a certain race or color or fucking any of this bullshit. All right, will Michael Dell save the Bitcoin bull run? I don't know. Let's see. Swan Bitcoin.
So it's October and the Bitcoin price is going down. What gives? Markets take a bit of a dive today as major geopolitical tensions in the Middle East rise again. Does this mean October is canceled? Today we look into the global economic trends to see if anything has changed, as well as talk about why markets are so hard to predict in the short term. Plus, massive billionaire and suspected Bitcoiner Michael Dell files to sell $1.2 billion worth of Dell stock. Is he getting ready to ape into Bitcoin?
Perfect.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Pure Bitcoin Signal. I'm Hurley, Director of Content at Swan. Now let's get into it. So October, or Uptober as we call it in Bitcoin land, officially starts today. And as we saw some extremely bullish price moves towards the end of September, so far it's been a disappointment. Reports started circulating this morning that Iran is preparing to launch another attack on Israel, and markets quickly responded with dips across the board. So what does this mean? Is the bull market canceled? I don't think so. In this video, I want to dig into why I think this is just a small blip in the radar and likely just slightly delays the onset of October. First of all, we've talked about it a lot lately on this show, but global liquidity, the best barometer for the Bitcoin price, is continuing to trend up. Nearly every central bank across the world is easing right now. In fact, September 2024 was the biggest month of monetary easing since April 2020 and is nearly in line with the rate cuts we saw during the great financial crisis of 08-09. Markets are now calling for another 50 basis point or 0.5% rate cut in the next Fed meeting in November. Global money supply is expanding, and since we know Bitcoin is the asset with the highest correlation to global money supply, or new money entering the economy, we should expect the Bitcoin price to follow suit soon. In fact, if Bitcoin continues following the trajectory of global M2 money supply as closely as it has in the past, the price is headed to $90,000 by the end of the year, as this chart from Joe Consorti shows. Bill Barheit was on CNBC's Crypto World yesterday talking about Bitcoin's correlation with liquidity levels and how it acts as more of a levered bet on stimulus.
There was broad consensus that the Fed was going to cut rates, but more importantly, that the liquidity cycle has now started. And by liquidity cycle, I mean that there's kind of a global coordinated effort to push stimulus into the monetary systems across the world: China, Japan, the United States, Western Europe, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, whatever the U.S. does has a much bigger effect on global markets than other countries because of the global dominance of the dollar. But many were expecting 25 basis points. Clearly, markets globally have now begun to price in 50 basis points, and the feedback from the Fed that we're going to be getting more stimulus. China announced over the weekend, I believe, that the biggest stimulus probably in 15 years, I think since 2007 or 2008. Traditionally, certain risk on assets, Bitcoin have kind of trailed stimulus and liquidity by maybe 6 to 10 weeks. And so many had priced in 25 basis points and maybe slower stimulus. So maybe there was a little bit of that. But in broad measure, Bitcoin, because it's kind of a fixed float asset, deflationary over time, tends to be more of a levered bet on stimulus, right, and on liquidity. So we would expect over the next several months, Bitcoin to appreciate significantly versus kind of traditional risk on assets, and I would expect it's probably 4 to 6 weeks before the fund really begins.
I may disagree with Barheit on DeFi and crypto projects, but on this, he's spot on. On top of global liquidity, we have options trading coming to Bitcoin spot ETFs soon. Something we haven't talked about much on this show, but it is a big deal and could be yet another tailwind for the Bitcoin price in the coming months once they go live. Here's a clip of Mike Novogratz on CNBC this morning talking about the catalyst of options trading on Bitcoin ETFs.
What are you hearing as it relates to the ETFs and how big the inroads have been? Obviously, there was a big move afoot when this first happened, but it's quieted down materially since then. And I'm trying to understand what's happened, because I think part of the expectation was that all these advisors were all of a sudden going to be out there marketing this stuff, and it was going to shift the balance.
That's a slower process than I think the market anticipated, right? Like a lot of these big platforms are just starting a month ago, starting this month, starting next month. And so I think this will be a, ongoing play over the years, not over the months. And I just think the more different ways you give access, the next big jolt to Bitcoin is going to be when we have options that trade on the ETFs. The SEC said they're coming. I don't know if it's in 3 weeks or a month, but we will have.
And what do you think that jolt is worth?
If you look at MicroStrategy as the one place right now you can get leverage on Bitcoin as a retail investor, it trades at more than 2.3 times the value of the Bitcoin it has, mostly because of the options. It is the single, often most weeks, it's the single largest, option stock in the whole market. And that tells me something, that there's a whole bunch of young guys on Robinhood that want to play crypto and want to do it with leverage.
What do you think happens, by the way?
So options trading on ETFs will be big, but even without, ETFs continue to buy up a lot of Bitcoin. In fact, in September, ETFs bought more Bitcoin than was mined. If this trend keeps up, the price can only go in one direction. Plus, amidst this dip due to escalating geopolitical conflict, let's not forget the BlackRock report from a few weeks ago titled Bitcoin, the Unique Diversifier. The report has a great table comparing Bitcoin's performance following major geopolitical events that shows it outperforms both gold and the S&P 500 in the 60 days following such events. So the price dip may not be over. We could go lower from here. But it's important to zoom out and remember that Bitcoin is a long-term bet, and history shows it is the asset that typically recovers quicker and more violently than alternatives like gold and stocks. In other news, rumors are swirling that mega billionaire Michael Dell is preparing to liquidate $1.2 billion worth of Dell stock to ape into Bitcoin. Dell stock is up over 58% this year and has recently rejoined the S&P 500. The rumors he is ready to ape the $1.2 billion into Bitcoin come about due to his bullish posts about the asset over the last few months, reposting Bitcoin.
I love that.
Memes, and even a tweet from Michael Saylor where he said Bitcoin is digital scarcity. Now, to put into context how rich Michael Dell is, Saylor is worth approximately $4.2 billion, while Dell is worth well over $100 billion. Just imagine if Dell decides to enact a similar Bitcoin strategy for his company as Saylor has done for MicroStrategy. Now, whether or not Michael Dell is ready to ape into Bitcoin or not remains to be seen, but the fact that someone as rich as Dell could in theory buy massive quantities of Bitcoin whenever he wants shows why predicting markets and the Bitcoin market in particular is a fool's errand. One catalyst like Dell buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin would quickly rip the price out of reach for many people, which is why it's so important to get off zero. And you can get off zero through Swan. Visit swan.com.
Chilling it.
Today. Before we wrap today, I'd like to bring your attention to a thread I came across that you should all check out. This is one from @ThinkingWest, and it goes into the thoughts of 18th century historian Alexander Tytler and his beliefs that democracies follow a predictable pattern that lead to servitude and eventual decline. My favorite part of the thread is Tytler's observations that democracies throughout history always collapse with the same catalyst: poor monetary policy. It's an eye-opening thread with many correlations to what we're seeing today. I highly recommend you check it out.
Interesting. All right, shout out to them for that video. Last but not least, Bitcoin flash crash. What is happening? Let's listen to Mr. Altcoin Daily over here and see what they got to say.
We are watching as we speak, Kelly, as there is a onslaught against Israel. Reported in the air across the country.
Why is he blurring out explosions?
Breaking news, Bitcoin plunges $6,000 in minutes after reports of Iran launching up to 100 drones towards Israel in retaliation for their embassy being bombed by Israel earlier this month. So we've had 2 big days of red. Of course, par for the course. Bitcoin has been volatile like this for the last 6 months.
I mean, we could have this just all the way down.
And while we are not going to get political, I just report the news, try and keep it as neutral and news-based as possible. What's next for Bitcoin, given this geopolitical macro conflict?
Also, the United States has warned Iran that there will be severe consequences for this airstrike.
Israel versus Iran escalation. Bitcoin has sold off sharply following this news. However, BTC has historically performed relatively well following major geopolitical risk events. So this is so important to share with a friend the actual data if they're invested in Bitcoin. And we see over and over again, starting back from 2015, when France launched an airstrike on ISIS in Syria, or in 2017, when North Korea conducted its 6th nuclear test, escalating tensions, or Iranian forces retaliated with missile strikes on ISIS in Syria in 2017. So many different examples showing that on day 0, what Bitcoin's price was when the event happened, and then following on day 5, day 10, 20 days out, 50 days out. Bitcoin tends to dip in the short term as liquidity is sucked out of the markets, all markets. Oftentimes, 5 days later, Bitcoin has started to recover. By 50 days later, almost in all cases, Bitcoin price has heavily recovered and continued its bullish trajectory because Bitcoin is seen as a geopolitical hedge against nation states. Geopolitical risk events were followed by significant price appreciation in the past. So this is 1 to 50 days before an unknown geopolitical risk event, and this is 1 to 50 days post. Bitcoin has proven itself over and over and over again. And let's talk about altcoins. Are they dead? Watch today's whole video, because if you need any more confirmation on who's actually buying the dip, huge trading volume for the American Bitcoin ETFs. In fact, BlackRock's IBIT hit $1 billion in trading volume with hours in the day still to go. And not that we can't go lower or chop solidate, get confidence back in the market. Maybe this extends things into October. Maybe it's now sideways October. Maybe Bitcoin's October is catalyzed from this. Time will tell. Nobody can see the future. But it is hard to trade against this chart. If Bitcoin continues following the trajectory of global M2 money supply, like it has seemed to for years and years, then it's heading to $90,000 before the end of the year. Also, global liquidity is expanding again, meaning money is being pumped into these markets by central banks globally. Looking at the only Bitcoin chart you will ever need, 2024 was always the year of accumulation, while 2025 has always been that bull year. And certain altcoins are separating themselves from the pack. In September, Ondo Finance collaborated with BlackRock and Securitize for Sky's Spark Tokenization Grand Prix and became the first tokenized treasuries provider to surpass $600 million in TVL. So even though price is consolidating, fundamental metrics are going up and to the right.
We were the first ones to get any material amount of adoption in a tokenization project. And by material, I mean north of $100 million of TVL. We started with effectively a short-term cash management asset that people could actually use to do short-term cash management on-chain. So if you have dollars on-chain and you were looking to get out of those dollars and invest in something like a money market fund or T-bills, you literally had no real option to do that before.
So obviously, if you believe in the growth potential of the RWA, real-world asset market, Ondo, by tokenizing financial products, is one of the leaders in this space.
Like we're at an all-time high. We're north of 600 million now in our TVL, or what traditional people call AUM. And it's growing probably very quickly in comparison to any kind of traditional financial thing. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but it's definitely like double-digit % month-over-month type growth that we've seen since launching our most recent product.
And let's talk about Cardano. But I do have to say, major news.
Nope, that's a shill.
And major news for Cardano holders, it's time. Midnight Testnet has arrived.
So Midnight is a partner chain of Cardano.
And just understand that Midnight is a partner chain, meaning sort of like a side chain to Cardano, only privacy-centric.
And it creates that service of programmable confidentiality, that ability to have a private state inside the system. And now all the Cardano applications will get that capability. But you can sell that capability as a service to other ecosystems as well. as an API call. So you can sell that to Ethereum apps. You can sell that to Bitcoin apps. You can sell that to Polkadot or Solana or other such things. And from their perspective, it looks like a layer 2 on their system.
If you guys don't know who this is, Charles Hodgkinson, I think it's how you say it. But yeah, he was one of the original founders of Ethereum and went his own way and created Cardano.
Even though it ends up settling on Cardano and doing all those types of things. What does that translate to? Is Cardano's open for business?
Also, Midnight will have a token, actually 2 tokens, Night and Dust. But as Midnight enters the testnet phase, Hoskinson revealed at Token 2049 in Singapore that the project will feature a glacier drop to distribute tokens to 135 million accounts across major crypto networks, meaning an airdrop will happen. And he explained that if users want the tokens, they'll have to mine them or just participate and earn them. And with Midnight airdropping to 135 million wallets across top blockchains, here is a potential list. And many of you were asking me to give you an update on Hex. I do read the comments, so even though I'm not necessarily into these cryptos, I want to cover the whole market. And October 31st of this month is confirmed as a possible dismissal date of the SEC case. So at the end of the month, Richard Hart will try to dismiss the case. If you don't remember Hex or Richard Hart, this was him back in 2021, heavily indicating that Hex could hit $1 million per coin.
Hex going to $1 million per coin, please.
Stop the cap.
I think it's mind warping. So for me to say that Hex will be $1 million a coin is very hard to say, because when you do the math, like the old world logic of like, oh, market cap matters. And then you're like, okay, 1 million times 640 million exceeds like the value of all of the planet stuff on the planet Earth in dollars. So it's very mind warping and very weird to say that you could see each Hex be worth $1 million. It's really weird.
Is that shit even worth a penny? I don't even want to listen to this guy anymore. Well, shout out to Altcoin Daily for that. All right, we're gonna just kind of recap things real quick because I gotta get out of here. To be honest, I gotta get back to daddy duty. Kids need to go to school. What is Hex even at? Real quick, let's just look. Which one is it? This one? It's not even a penny. Yeah, it's gonna be $1 million a coin. Oh, out of here. It's not even $1 a coin. All right, Bitcoin 61,226 bucks. We got Ethereum at 2457. If anybody's just joining, looks like things are in the deep red, but it's a fire sale. Now's the time. Now is the time. Solana 146 bucks. We got XRP at 58 cents, ADAs at 35 cents, LTC at 63.78. We got Near Protocol at $4.80, Caspa at 14.5 cents, just about 14.7 to be exact. ETC 18.38. Let's see, nothing else really jumping out at me. Dogecoin 10.5 cents, just about. BNB 547 bucks, looking pretty good. Concoin is $5.42. Nothing's changed over here on Crypto Bubbles. Everything is down 5 to 10%, I would say, roughly. And there's only a couple that are up. Wormhole's up 21%, 37 cents. We got XEC, which is eCash, up on the day 2.7%, and Mantra is up 3.3% on the day to $1.28. Flashbang, we got Fear and Greed Index of a 42. And guys, that's gonna do it. That's it. It's all she wrote. It's Wednesday. A couple more days till the weekend, but hopefully you guys have a great, happy, and safe Wednesday. I'll catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, peace out and have a good day.
Eat shit, Gary.
I love titties.
If she don't talk to her, we don't talk to her.
Perfect.
Eat